Welcome back, riders. A few days ago, I had posted on my community tab that I'm heading out on a very exciting trip starting this week, and I asked you all if you would want to see some kind of preview video, and the overwhelming response was yes. I think it was 92%. So today I'm coming through with that video. The way I've decided to go about it is to go from park to park and rank each coaster as I believe they will place after I ride them. And then after I'm through with each park, I'll combine all the lineups and quickly talk about my combined top 10. As a quick side note, I'm not totally sure what kind of content I'll be doing on this trip, so if any of you have any ideas or anything you want to see specifically, please let me know in the comments below. Also, I'd like to apologize as, of course, I've never been to any of these parks, so I have no footage of my own, and I didn't have enough time to go fishing through copyright or copyright-free pictures, whatever, for everything. So enjoy my extremely Canada Coaster fan-esque video. Feel free to throw this one on in the background, no pictures here at all. Without further ado, let's just cut to the chase. No teasing or guessing game. Let's get started with the first park. First park of the trip will be Thorp Park, located in the outskirts of London. There are 8 roller coasters here, and we'll start from the bottom and work our way up. Coming in last is Flying Fish, a Mock Rides powered coaster. These tend to be cute and a decent time, so not bad for a last place coaster. Placing 7th is Walking Dead the Ride, an indoor Vekoma coaster. I don't know a whole lot about this ride since I generally stay away from watching POVs. Even making this video, I didn't watch any POVs, so I don't really know what this ride does, but it doesn't seem to be as big as the top 6 here. Coming in 6 is Saw the Ride, a Gerstlauer Eurofighter. The theming should carry the experience, but otherwise I haven't heard much about the ride experience itself, but having this at number 6 is a solid testament to the quality of the depth at Thorpe Park. Fifth belongs to Colossus, one of Intamin's 10 inversion coasters. I've never been on one, but I remember always being shocked at the ending watching the POV years ago, and they used to show these on TV and everything, so I'm definitely looking forward to it. I can't think of a comparable coaster from Intamin that I've been on, so I'm excited for this one. Placing fourth is Nemesis Inferno, a Bolliger Mabillard inverted coaster. And that is really the driving force of this ranking, the fact that it is a B&M invert. I haven't heard anyone rave about this ride, but even the smaller B&M inverts are solid coasters. I'm giving the bronze medal to Swarm, another B&M coaster, this one being a wing coaster. Although this is one of the earlier wing coasters that was built, it's actually been a very long time since I've been on one for the first time. I believe 2016 was the last time, so I'm really excited to try out a new wing coaster. This one looks to have a good inline twist and some solid theming too. Runner up for silver is Stealth, an Intamin accelerator coaster. I had a very hard time ranking this one. I know the launch is going to be good, but just how good are we talking? The layout has nothing else to offer other than the top hat, so the final placement really relies on how good the launch is. I could easily see this falling down a few spots if I'm not impressed. Remember, I ride max force all the time, so this hydraulic launch better be kicking. To absolutely no one's surprise, I picked Hyperia as the best coaster at Thorpe Park. This new for 2024 Mock Rides Hypercoaster is already regarded as the best coaster in the UK, so I'll consider it a massive letdown if it's not my favorite in the park. Wish me luck with that line though. Next park on the trip will be the world-famous Alton Towers, centrally located between many cities like Birmingham, Nottingham, Sheffield, Manchester, and Liverpool. This will probably be the most unique park on the trip, given the vast gardens throughout the park and none of their 10 roller coasters rise above the tree line. Coming in last is Octonauts Roller Coaster Adventure, a Zamperla Junior coaster. It's a Zamperla Junior coaster. Not much to say here. Landing in ninth is Runaway Mine Train, another Mock Rides powered coaster. This one seems to be themed a bit better than Flying Fish at Thorp Park, so that'll be nice. Moving on to the bigger coasters, we have Spinball Wizard at 8th. This is a Mauer spinning coaster. It appears to be custom, but I can't imagine it being much different than the other ones I've been on. Well, except Windjust. Windjust is always the exception. This is going to sound weird, but 7th is 13, an Intamin multi-dimension coaster. Unfortunately, I do know about the big spoiler, so I'm not going to be surprised here, but otherwise, this should be a fun experience while not being super intense. 6 is Oblivion, B&M's first ever dive coaster. You thought rides like Shikra were one-trick ponies? Look no further than Oblivion. Maybe the theming will give it a few bonus points, but otherwise I feel like I know what I'm getting into and I'm not going in with many expectations at all. It's just literally to drop. That's it. Moving on to the top half of the list, starting with Rita, an Intamin accelerator coaster. This is pretty much the opposite of Stealth. Much less intense, but at least it has a layout after the launch. I'm thinking the launch will be better than something like Matugani, but we'll just have to see how fun the layout is. Just missing the podium is Galactica, a B&M flying coaster. I feel like absolutely nobody talks about this coaster. It's honestly always caught my eye as it's probably the most unique B&M flyer out there. I'm very intrigued with this one. Bronze medal goes to Smiler, a Gerstlauer Infinity coaster. This coaster holds the world record for most inversions on any coaster with a whopping 14. I feel like I'm really going to like the theme, yet the nonstop inversions might be a little repetitive for me. I've always been someone who would prefer a coaster with something like four inversions and a couple airtime moments rather than something with seven inversions and no airtime. I could see this ending up a spot higher or lower. We'll see. I feel like silver might be a surprise for some people, but I'm going with the Great Coasters International Wooden Coaster, Wicker Man. Listen, I'm a sucker for GCI. I know this is generally seen as middle of the pack for GCI coasters, but that doesn't really faze me. I love smaller GCIs like Invader or American Thunder, so give me one with what should be great theming, and I could see myself really liking this one. Gold medal should yet again be a surprise to no one, but I'm picking Nemesis Reborn. This is another B&M invert, but this one is one of the most legendary out there. They completely rebuilt the ride and it just reopened this year. I've heard there's a rattle, but frankly, I don't care. That shouldn't hinder my personal experience. I never really mind a rattle at all. The theming looks absolutely fantastic, even more so than any other coaster I've mentioned in the video. I'm a sucker for that, and it has a great layout, a unique layout, so I'm really looking forward to this one. Next park is Blackpool Pleasure Beach, located in, well, Blackpool. Another historic park. This one is littered with old attractions. Not gonna lie, this one was a bit hard to rank, but I did as best as I could. Blackpool has a total of 12 roller coasters. However, three of them are essentially the same and all on the bottom of my rankings, being Steeplechase. These are three separate tracks, so I count them as 3 credits, but I don't believe they are much different from each other, if at all. I've never been on an aerodynamic steeplechase coaster, but it doesn't seem like they have much to offer in the thrill department. In a park with no true kids coasters, this is enough for me to place steeplechase last. Moving to ninth is Blue Flyer, a 1934 Philadelphia Toboggans coaster, wooden coaster. This seems pretty comparable to the Zack Sumers and Woodstock Expresses in the world, or I guess I should say the States. So nothing too crazy here, but maybe a moment or two will catch me off guard. I'm slotting in Infusion at number 8. This is a dreaded Vekoma SLC with the old restraints. With the old restraints, these can be downright horrendous to bearable at best. I have not really heard where Infusion ranks on that scale, so 8th felt right to me. Number 7 is Avalanche, a mock rides bobsled. These tend to not be super thrilling, yet they're fun at the same time, so I guess we'll find out which way it leans on that spectrum. Just missing the top 5 is Nickelodeon Streak, a 1933 wooden coaster. This one seems like a supersized Blue Flyer, obviously still advertised as a wooden coaster with its Nickelodeon theme, but without watching a POV, it's hard to get a feel for any of the wooden coasters in the park, honestly. Number 5 is Revolution, an aero-launched shuttle loop coaster. As I have never been on one of these, I have a hard time ranking it. I've heard the launches aren't really much, but maybe the back gives some airtime? I don't know, but a loop both forwards and backwards sounds fun, so sign me up. Coming in number 4 is Grand National, a 1935 PTC Mobius loop coaster that's wooden. I compare this most to the Racer at Kennywood, which I'm not that much of a fan of, so it is a little surprising to see it all the way up at number 4, but maybe the racing will be fun, maybe it's got some sneaky force, not entirely sure. Again, hard to tell without the POV. Kicking off the podium is Big Dipper, yet another PTC wooden coaster, this one tracing back all the way to 1923. Based off images, this one seems to be the craziest wooden coaster in the park, so that's why I have it ranked as such. But I could be entirely wrong. I guess I'll have to ride it and find out. Oh darn. The top 2 spots will be the steel giants in the park. Well, besides Infusion. Starting with Big One, an aerodynamics hyper coaster. It'll be awesome to get on another aero hyper coaster, as I've only been on one Magnum XL 200 at Cedar Point. But at the same time, to me, the general consensus is that the big one is inferior to Magnum XL 200, so I'm not expecting something super crazy or setting too high of expectations. The top choice was an easy one for me to make, that being Icon, a Mock Rides launch coaster. I know Icon is not the craziest coaster out there, and it seems like it's not highly regarded, but I'm a real sucker for other unassuming mock launch coasters like Manta at SeaWorld San Diego or Copyright Strike at Carowinds. Those coasters are just the definitions of fun. Even a ride like Manta that does not go upside down, it doesn't even go over 30 feet tall, I have a blast on it. So I'm expecting Icon to do the same, and that's not even considering the spinning car. The next park was even harder to rank all 19 of their roller coasters. Of course, I am talking about Energylandia near Krakow, Poland. This park has a bunch of kiddie and family coasters, so I'm not going to spend that much time on the bottom half of the list, and I'll even group some together when I can. All the way down at 19th is Circus Coaster, a SBF powered oval coaster. Exhilarating stuff. 18th is Fruity Loop Coaster, an SBF Wacky Worm. It's not every day when a Wacky Worm is not last in a ranking. Moving up to 17th is yet another SBF, this one being Mars. This one has a little more substance as it's a little taller and a little longer while having some theming, but it's still overall small and shouldn't be that thrilling. SBF's bread and butter comes in at number 16, that being their standard spinning coaster named Happy Loops. I've been on more of these than I'd like to admit. Finally, a non-SBF coaster, we have Draken, a Preston and Babari family coaster. I've never been on one of those, at number 15. This one is still small, but looks like it has some fun turns, so I'll give it the slight edge over the others. We couldn't stay away from SBF that long, as Viking Roller Coaster, which is their bigger spinning coaster model, comes in at 14th. I've been on one of these in Mexico City, and They're rough on the edges, but definitely more thrilling than anything I've talked about for Energylandia so far. I'm grouping in the next two together as they're both Vekoma family coasters. 13th is Frida, and 12th is Honey Harbor. Frida is actually a clone of Rookie Racer at Six Flags St. Louis, which I found to be fun, but Honey Harbor seems to be a bit taller, so I'll give that the edge. Just missing the top 10 is Speed, an Intamin water coaster. I hate getting wet, so maybe that's why it's not as high as others would have it, but it does seem to have a good coaster section, which I can appreciate. Kicking off the top 10 is Energus. Hope I said that right. Yet another Vekoma family coaster. This one seems to be the tallest and longest of them all, at least so far on the list, hence its placement. I'm going to group in the next two together again as they are both Vekoma family boomerangs. Ninth is simply titled Boomerang, and eighth is Light Explorers. Light Explorers has the much better setting, so I'm definitely looking forward to that one more out of the two. Seventh is yet another Vekoma, this one being the suspended family coaster model named Dragon Roller Coaster. This is a clone of Dollywood's Dragonflyer, which is a ride I quite enjoyed. All right, we are finally moving on from the small stuff and into the big guys, starting with Choco Chip Creek at number 6. I actually really like the Vekoma mine trains, and this one is nearly 4,000 feet long, so this should be a long and enjoyable coaster. Kicking off the top 5 is Roller Coaster Mayan, another Vekoma SLC. But this one should be much better than Infusion at Blackpool, as this one has the new trains and was built more recently. These can be great coasters when done right, and I don't see how this one will be bad. Number 4 is a coaster I have been wanting to get on for years, and that is Formula. This is recognized as the coaster that started the new Vekoma movement, and it looks like a great launch coaster. Number 3 is Abyssus, another Vekoma launch coaster. This is pretty much a taller, faster, longer formula. And then, of course, we are left with the legendary top 2. Which one will I pick for my top spot? I'll take Zadra, but let's talk about Hyperion first. I'm going to be honest, I really wish Energylandia went with the Vekoma Hyper instead. That's not a knock on Hyperion. I just wish that Vekoma was able to build their concept. That would have been real good for the industry, in my opinion, especially given that we have still yet to see a Vekoma Hyper, but I'm getting sidetracked. Just wanted to throw that out there. As for Hyperion itself, this is actually something I have not seen a POV for in a long time, but come on, it's a new age Intamin Hyper. Of course, I'm stoked for this. And it seems like this has some solid theming, at least for the station slash queue, so I'm getting ready for that. But I'm taking Zadra at number 1. The pacing is just off the charts. Iron Gwazi amazes me with every single ride, with how fast it flies through the elements. Well, at least after it's warmed up. If you're telling me that Zadra is even crazier in that regard, that is absolute madness. Sign me up. Last but not least, Legendia almost feels like a bonus park. Located in Katowice, hope I said that right. This park only has two coasters, and I'm pretty sure nobody's going to be surprised which one I picked for number 1. Of course, Legendia is home to Lek Coaster, another fairly famous Vekoma coaster. This one's not launched, but it has a drop that looks great. There's some awesome inversions, and it seems like the layout just flows so nicely. And then let's not forget about their second coaster, Devil's Loop. This is a looping coaster made by Soket, which is a manufacturer I barely recall hearing of, and I've never been on any of their coasters to my knowledge. This looks like a less sketchy and more fleshed out Pinfari to me. Consider me intrigued. Alright, so now I'll be talking about the combined list. Here we have 11 through 51. I'm not going to go through each coaster one by one, so feel free to pause the video if you'd like to read it all out, but I do have a couple quick points I want to make. One, I honestly don't feel bad about leaving Big One and Stealth out of the top 10, so I'm happy with how this list turned out. Two, I had a fairly hard time separating coasters away from their parks, as we have a lot of chunks of coasters from the same park in this ranking. And three, naturally, lots of Energylandia on the list, especially towards the bottom. All right, let's reveal the top 10. I'm going to start off by grouping together Formula and Abyssus, as I already gave my take on why I'm going to take Abyssus over Formula, but I'm definitely excited to get on both. Let's group together the next two as well, since I already gave my Wickerman vs. Smiler take. I could see this one going either way though. It'll be interesting to see how that turns out. At number 6, we have the lone representative from Legendia, Lek Coaster. It was not easy separating this from the other Vekomas on this list, Abyssus and Formula, and usually I'm biased for launch coasters, but the layout of Lek Coaster is really calling my name. I think that drop is going to be great, the inversions will be good, and the ride will flow almost naturally. Coming in at 5th is Icon at Blackpool Pleasure Beach. This is actually a fairly similar reasoning as Lek Coaster. It's another coaster where I think it's going to flow naturally and in a really fun way. I give Icon the edge for being launched, even if the launches themselves will be nothing to shout at. Just missing the podium is Nemesis Reborn at Alton Towers. This is supposedly one of the best inverted coasters out there. It's definitely one of the most unique. Pair that with fantastic theming, and this should be great. As we move into the top 3, I think these 3 coasters have top 25 potential. Let's start with Hyperia. Like I said, this seems to unanimously be the best coaster in the UK. The big drawback with this ride is that it's relatively short for its size being a hypercoaster, but what it has to offer should knock off our socks. So then naturally that leaves Energylandia's top 2, which I've already broken down. Compared to Hyperia, both of these coasters should feel longer and like more complete experiences. And there you have it. I'm heading to the UK and Poland. Super excited to return to Europe and ride some fantastic coasters. Again, if you want to see anything specifically content-wise from the trip, please let me know in the comments below. Thanks for checking out the video. Push down, pull up, exit to the right. Hope you enjoyed the video, and go have your greatest day yet. Choo choo, bye!